Hello and welcome to the Friday Night Social here on Hughes of the World. I'm Graham Hughes and I'm joined tonight by Ed Kimberley. How you doing, Ed? You all right,
Hello.
mate?
I'm going to resist the urge to give the classic answer of this moment in time. I'm
Yeah.
burning hot and I hate it.
Oh, okay. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah,
It's only
yeah, yeah, I'm
20
not going to say
degrees
that.
here in Durham. You should come up
Yeah,
to Durham. It's
I'm not going to say that because that would be very derivative. I'm going
yeah,
to say I'm having a great evening after
yeah,
seeing Count Binface get his deposit back last night.
yeah, yeah. No, he didn't half get his deposit back. You've got to get, what was it, 5%, and he got
Yeah,
27%. So he blew it out the
yeah,
water. Talking about
yeah.
blowing things out the water, here is Mike Dix. Hello, Mike Dix. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Did you shit your pants earlier this evening when you got a text alert from the government with a little siren going on your phone?
I mean, I know you're thinking now about what you just asked me, but no,
Yes.
I don't shit my pants. No.
I meant metaphorically. Metaphorically.
It was a
Did,
bit
did,
of a
did you not
panic
think?
job,
Oh,
wasn't it?
oh
Mm.
shit! Is it the Ruskies have invaded? It's
I
war.
mean, we've always talked about Labour's PR, but that's quite badly handled. Like they explained it afterwards for a
Hmm.
Yes.
start. They didn't tell anyone it was coming. And then
Yeah.
they go, don't have a barbecue.
Yeah. I don't have a barbecue.
Yeah.
I've got a mate who was actually putting the barbecue together. They were like lighting the barbecue when the message came through, and they're like, "Oh, better
It's
not
like they're watching
do this.
us.
They're watching
It's
us."
like, Jeremy, we're watching. We saw
Yeah.
that barbecue. We saw you lighting up. Don't do it, Jeremy. Don't do it.
But yeah, before we move on, because we only just started, Mike. Just a big shout out to everyone in the chat. We've got Sarah in there, got Lost Missionary, Diz is in the chat, One Angry Pagan, Billy as well. We've got L. We've got Graham Price in that Hidden Night, Reverend Kathy, Chris C. Alex is in there as well. Just wonderful to see you all. Attila is in there. Hey, Attila and James. If you'd like to join our friendly friends in the friendly chat at the side of the screen there, just hit the friendly subscribe button. And if you're very lucky and we get some super chats in this evening, we'll unleash the new modified Binface cannon, modified by Mike Dix here, our conscious artiste
Vastly include.
extraordinaire, in-house artist.
Yeah.
Before we move on, there's been some really horrible news that's come out in the last half hour. That Jason Arday, the Cambridge professor, ex-Cambridge professor at the centre of this plagiarism row, he's taken his own life.
Oh.
And it's really grim. It's a really shocking indictment of just how institutionally racist this country is, because this doesn't happen to white professors who rob stuff all the fucking time. This doesn't happen to white professors who take the theses from the female students and then cross the names off from the women students and put their own names at the top and fob it off as their research.
Or
It
or
was
you UKIP or Reform Party by-election candidates who use AI to write their book. Matt
yeah,
Goodwin.
yeah, yeah,
Allegedly.
yeah.
Hmm.
But I
No,
feel so
definitely.
sorry for Jason Arday. I mean,
Yeah.
he may have made stuff up. I don't care. The way the media went after him.
Mm. It,
Meanwhile, Farage is sitting there with £5 million in his bank account, going, "Oh no, you can't ask me questions. I'm getting really aggressive now."
it's
And
really
Yeah.
striking, like both at the national and the local level. If you are a person of color and you are even within, if you are within 20 square miles of a crime, you are somehow now just the default suspect, and that's okay. That the media will facilitate that to be the discussion. You will see
yeah,
that in the comment sections, and it is absolutely wild. I was having a conversation through a Facebook comment section. Don't do that; it's a terrible idea. It always goes badly. But someone was saying to me, sort of, Ed, you say that we're not being invaded and all this, and you're saying, I understand that, but I live near this place and such a crime has happened, and it was a very horrible sex crime, and this happened and that happened, and then these asylum seekers that have been settled in the area were disappeared away, and the crime stopped happening. What's going on? And I looked at the BBC article that he sent me. First of all, like, there have been 2 or 3 incidents genuinely, but that does not
yeah,
form a pattern. And basically, as far as I can tell, the only thing buttressing his argument was that there were resettled asylum seekers living within 20 miles of the incident. That is not a basis. That is not evidential.
yeah,
That is just you drawing two connections. I had someone else saying to me earlier today, Ed, why is it racist when we point out crimes are happening, but it's not racist when you do? And it's like, well, I didn't bring up the ethnicity of the perpetrator, did you? It's like, this is the problem that we're having, is that the focus of the conversation in the country is so absolutely just laser focused on ethnicity and race and immigration that everything else, every other interesting thing there might be to know about a person, just gets tossed straight out the window. It's very clear. The big reason why Jason Arde was so interesting to so much of the press was very much to do with his skin tone. There are charlatans of all different shapes and sizes. Jason Arde was bad, but not a particularly, not. He wasn't committing war crimes.
I think Liverpool John Moores ran his doctorate thesis through a plagiarism test, and they found that it was all right. Like, it wasn't, he may have embellished a few things about when he was younger, but who cares? Do you know what I mean? Like, in the greater scheme of things, the media went after this guy, as they do.
It's trial by media, where your guilt is determined by popularity contests.
Yeah, and don't forget, he would have been thinking at the age of 41 that he would never work in academia again.
Yeah.
And I imagine beyond just the mainstream media, the social media attacks that you must have come under, because you just see that all day long.
Yeah.
Anyway, basically, so
yeah,
it's I don't know if it's pertinent to this conversation, but I've noticed since Saint Widdicombe passed away that woke and lefties are now criminals in every single situation as well. So today, at least 3 times, I've been accused on Facebook or Twitter of being the kind of wokey that killed Anne Widdicombe.
Oh, right.
Go, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Do you mean a madman with a bludgeon that turned up and did it? Are we all this now? This is how this works?
It's an attempt to redefine criminal justice away from actual criminal justice and evidence and juries and trials and due process, and instead do justice by popularity contest and simply label your political opposition guilty by default. They are guilty until proven innocent, even if it's plain they're not actually guilty of anything. Like, the number of times that, I mean, I'm sure you will all have had this experience, and a lot of people who might be listening into this will have had this experience. If you're discovered to be on the left, you get called a pedo, and there's no basis for that whatsoever, but it just gets thrown around like it's a cheap trick, like it's a thing that they can do for free without any consequence. And this is the state of the conversation we're trying to have. Meanwhile, of course, Nigel Farage calls this entire circus of a by-election in Clacton quite explicitly on the assumption that it's going to make the parliamentary investigation into his potential wrongdoing disappear. That's not how a system of justice works. We don't do justice by plebiscite.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the trial by media thing doesn't really happen to Nigel Farage or to Richard Tice. No. But, anything approaching a difficult question, like, how dare you ask me this question that everyone's asking about this 5 million? How dare you ask me about
my girlfriend who lives in Dubai?
Yeah, how dare you? And it's like this grotesque reimagining of what a judicial system should look like. It's not too far away from pitchforks and
it's all part of the it's all part of the game, isn't it? Lee Anderson revealed their plan years ago, didn't he? And it goes back further than that into Project 2025. Everything is connected. You start to sound like a conspiracy theory, but they've declared this as their process, which is, for example, you pick on the trans community, which is one of the very small subsections of society in general that a lot of people can be mobilized to other, and we've seen that dramatically. And as our friend Rachel has often reminded me, that they do that so that then they can go for gay people, and then they can go for women, and the very people that are doing the attacking are the ones that will be attacked next. And now what they're doing, and Trump is doing this a lot, and Farage did it in his speeches yesterday, is to say, it's the loony lefties and communists are out to kill you all. And they're inviting in these enormous rubber dinghies to come and take over your wife's pantry. I don't know what the fuck they're telling them now, but essentially they are othering us now, and it's the classic. First they came for the etc. Just add in your list of TikTokers as you go down the influencers that are being picked off one by one.
The process of othering has been going on for some time.
Sorry, technical thing, Mike. Your mic's popping a bit. You know, your expensive DJI, Mike.
Yeah. Well,
it's always the way, isn't it?
I'll go quiet for a minute and just reset.
Okay. All right. Well, you sort that out. Sorry, what was I going to say about? God, we were talking about. I mean, this is really shit news. It is. But in the chat, Samuso is saying there's no in between. Either you're far left or far right, or a lefty Widdicombe murderer. You're not allowed to be a centralist anymore. And that is amazing, isn't it? Like the term centralist dad is trotted out as a pejorative in the same way that a do-gooder is trotted out, like, and woke is somehow a bad thing. Like, oh, so you're aware of the injustices going on in the world, you bastard. It just seems so weird that they pick these particular pejoratives and say, haha, look at you knowing about things.
Yeah. It's I mean, one of the strands of fascism, one of the strands of Nazism that we were warned to watch out for is anti-intellectualism. And it started, during the Brexit years, that famous quote where people are sick and tired of experts.
Michael Gove.
That is where it opens up.
The guy in charge of education?
Yeah. But that is precisely when I think the door opened. The door had probably opened a year or two before that, but the door was thoroughly open at that point for extreme right politics to enter this country. And you can see it when I say entering this country, I do mean entering. It's not from here. It's not native to this country. It's not a political tradition that we're seeing playing out in front of us that has roots here. This is being imported pretty directly from Europe and mostly from America.
Yep.
The style of far right extremism that we are having inflicted on us right now, right up to and including those god-awful Crusader AI images that you will have all seen by now. It is purely playing into this Christian nationalism nonsense, which starts from America.
From people who've never been in a church in their lives.
Yes. And people who've got no understanding of Christianity at all.
Can I do a mic check just to make sure?
You sound...
Is that working?
Your tones are set to dulcet. You're sounding
good.
You're sounding good. You're not popping.
I'll just tweak dulcet just a little bit. Yeah, and arguably, sorry, just to add to that, Edward, is I actually think a lot of that comes from Russia. I mean, this is Russian Christian orthodoxy and Putin's anti-gay agenda, and then that's leaked through to America, and then that's leaked through to Farage, and you can see Farage trying on that costume. He's been doing that for the last few years, and now it's become a very slick operation of pre-record. He's doing a Trump, which is okay. The standard thing to do is to turn up on the stage with the man in the funny costumes. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do a pre-record. I'm going to do it from my own festival. My own camera crew are going to record it all and send it out to the media. And the media, like a bunch of bloody lapdogs, just take these tapes and play them. And then it turns out you look it up and you go, oh, it's just a convention. There's no rule that says that you have to turn up there for the count as long as your agent's there. There's no rule that says you have to do an acceptance speech live with all the media and take questions. It's a convention. And if the media let these conventions slip, you end up being shoved on a plane in Turkey as a decoy for Donald Trump, who's in a catering van, don't you? So,
quite amazing that Trump was happy to send half his cabinet to die, potentially, as a decoy. So he survived. He is the kind of person who would use a child as a literal human shield.
I mean, it's one of the things that I think has come out of the Clacton by-election quite loudly, quite clearly, and I think we need to do more to spotlight this. Farage gave up on being a man of the people. He's not trying to be that now. He's trying to be the Lord of the Manor. He doesn't like the little people. He doesn't like the rest of us. He doesn't like to be out in the public. He doesn't like Clacton. He may play around with the trappings of ordinary working class people, but at the end of the day, he doesn't actually engage with this stuff willingly. And what we saw was him basically saying, oh, the by-election count, there are going to be people there, the unwashed messes. I shan't be having that. And it's like, it's very, very sort of 19th century aristocrat somewhere in there. The genetic code that he's drawing on is that of the sort of the frustrated upper middle and sort of lower upper classes of like that 19th century that want to be considered the great, the powerful, the good, but they're not really quite there, and they're going through all those trappings to make themselves look like they matter and like they're important, and can be very.
It's very funny. Maria, who's Mexican, commented to me yesterday exactly that. She said, this guy just looks like he's dressing up as what he thinks posh people are like.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Basically. Yeah. Maria said that she thinks Farage just dresses up like,
yeah.
And the posh people kind of look at him and go, no, we dress like eccentric pricks, but not like that.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, with his
you
double-breasted
can't come into our club.
Doing his major misunderstanding walk. I don't know who said it
and
first.
the problem is, in a way, and I'm not deriding the working classes here, basically, but I am about to, obviously, by saying that. I think that a lot of people look at that and they think that's. I was listening to a conversation you were having with Phil earlier today, where he said that when you come from the background he comes from, you aspire to buying a Jag rather than a Rolls Royce. Yeah, and it's that sort of, you know. He presents a success. It's like Trump. They present a form of success that people think, if I was rich, I'd be like that.
Yeah,
basically.
Well, both of them are basically neo-aristocrats and inherited vast sums of money from their dads.
Never gave them a fucking cuddle. I swear to God, if I had a time machine, I would go back and say to Farage and Trump's dad, just give him one cuddle. Just tell him he did all right.
They'll be happy with the monsters they created. Andy in the chat, I don't know who first came up with this. Did either of you say this word? Slopaganda?
Oh,
that is a good one, isn't it? I don't know who said that originally
like an
in the chat.
word.
Slopaganda. I love it. That's what we're dealing with. We're on the age of the slopaganda.
Slopaganderists.
Yeah, and some of the stuff that's happened this week has just been mind-bending. Right, first of all, the eclipse, that was pretty mind-bending. But Karoline Leavitt resigning the day after she'd been told that she had been used as a human shield, a decoy, to be blown out the sky so that Trump lives. And she was like,
why would someone be upset about discovering that they've been thrown literally under the bus to save their boss's sorry, smelly hide?
Did you also read the report where he called her the day after she gave birth to a third child, asking for advice on a press release, and then saying, "And when are you coming back to work?"
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
I mean,
he know what's happening in his
I've got very little love for Karoline Leavitt, basically. I think she's very good at being Trump's mouthpiece, like the voice of Sauron.
She's awful, yes. Yeah. The voice of Sauron. That is definitely... But that incredibly upsetting and weird press conference they did in the White House, and Trump was asleep, and RFK Jr. was going... And there was this woman there who was like blowing imaginary bubbles and popping them and it was just so fucking surreal. Someone said it was like a David Lynch movie. All you need is Dean Stockwell singing Roy Orbison into a light bulb, and you'd have the movie just right there. Do you know what I mean? And Trump's asleep. He's genuinely asleep. I mean, it's just, oh my God. And people are watching that and going, "That's the guy for me. Yeah, that's the president I want. Yeah, he's the president of my dreams."
It's a kind of cultishness that they've built around Trump, but we're seeing the same kind of thing with Farage.
Sorry, what did you say? Cultishness?
Cultishness.
Yeah, oh, right. Sorry, I thought you said cuntishness.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have a working N key at the moment, so you'll have to let me go on that one.
You're an elected councillor. I can't. You can't say things like that.
There is, I mean, I can, but I'd probably better.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't.
I have got some degree of self-respect left, even if the reformies keep saying that I'm mad, off my meds, or a nonce, or whatever else. It's like I do actually, in fact, have a degree of self-respect. This comes to the point I was going to make, which is
a degree.
A degree.
And a degree.
It's squeaky tank.
That's more than the people who are Faragists having it.
Yeah,
it's something which I think we just sort of need to drill in on, really, which is we've allowed seriously weird conduct to just be treated as normal. And I think one of the most powerful things we can do back to the far right is just refuse to let their weird behavior be normal. And it's to actually also stick up and just point out when they're going, they're being aggressive against things that are completely normal or completely harmless, and not let it be normal. Just speak up loudly, repeatedly, and re-emphasize what decent values are. If they're going to make it brave to stand up for trans people or for LGBT people, if they're going to make it an act of bravery not to attack ethnic minorities, then we have to be brave. We have to stake out that ground and say, no, this is protected ground. You're not stepping on it. There was a phrase which I found myself using again in one of these sort of comment section battles, but someone was saying, you use the word Nazi and I don't like it. You use it too much. And I said, I find, what was it now? He said, he was basically saying I was being rude about Nazis or about the far right. And I just said, look, I don't like Nazis. And I think it's really weird that you don't have a problem with them the way that I've got a problem with them. I think that's weird. I remember my history class. I remember listening to family stories about my granddad who flew in World War II. And let me tell you, as a flight engineer of a Lancaster bomber, he did very unspeakably rude things to Nazis in World War II.
Yeah.
So maybe just calling out Nazis and saying what they are online isn't actually that rude at all.
Yeah,
it's quite normal.
My granddad was in the Navy from 39 to 45, and he launched torpedoes against Nazis. He didn't make excuses for them.
No. And it's like
my granddad was in the Marines sticking bayonets up them.
Not making excuses for them.
Do you notice that we all just did the same thing as Farage today? One of the things that really ground with me in his speech was when he said, the people that came before us fought wars for this democracy. And you go, what?
Mike, come back. We've lost Mike.
He was making a good point.
I know, he's been disconnected by the powers that be.
They heard him making a good point.
Oh, there you go. He's back. He's back now.
Is he?
He is. He's back. Hello, Mike.
Are you out of slideshow mode?
Sorry, you dropped out.
Now my internet connection is unstable.
It's because the moon came between you and the earth.
Yeah. Look, it's climate change.
Yeah, all of this talk about
man-made climate change.
All of this talk about eclipses being a natural sort of like scientific phenomenon, that's clearly bunk. The old gods are angry because we are treating the earth with disrespect.
So
clearly that is what's happening.
I went out and banged a pot and pan and it chased the dragon that was trying to eat the sun away. It's great. But yeah, there's actually we haven't done a night social for a couple of weeks now because I've been away. I've been traveling. I was in Liverpool and then I was in Mallorca. But yeah, one of the stories from a couple of weeks ago that I just want to bring up because it's tied in with mentioning about the degree Ed's got.
I've not
Mickey Mouse degrees. Mickey Mouse degrees.
Oh, I see. You went to you heard I'm studying, and you and your
talking of Ed's
straight there.
Talking of Ed's degree.
My Mickey Mouse degree.
Your Mickey Mouse degree. Yeah.
Is it in gender studies or queer and critical race theory? Because I don't think there's any degree. Because I checked at UCAS this week. It was the clearing for the A levels, and I couldn't find these Mickey Mouse degrees. I've never met anyone who's got a degree in critical race theory. I don't think it exists as a degree in the same way that, I don't know, the Tory response to the Corn Laws is a degree. It might be something that you study in a degree if you're doing politics, international studies, I know, history or something, but...
I think this is where, again, you can see the American rhetoric invading our politics. You get talking points being thrown at us that are ripped straight from the United States, where things might exist that people are being told to be angry about. Have you noticed how many of the far right have got really seriously angry about BLM, like Black Lives Matter, and how much they insist now that George I've lost his name now.
George Floyd.
George Floyd. They're trying to make out, he's a criminal. Like, that rhetoric is ripped straight from the US. That's not British. That is not how we talk. We never talked about him like that. That came from Trump. That came from the Republicans in America. Why are people here talking like that? It's so weird. Yeah. And it shows that a lot of this reaction is being catered and curated. There are no doubt professional trolls involved as well, but also a lot of bots. And they're just applying this rhetoric, feeding it into our conversations so that people start talking like they're actually from a completely different political tradition. But then every so often they'll come out with something like what you just said, where you take a step back and go, hang on, which country are you talking about?
Yeah,
like, what are you saying?
Yeah. But it's classic, isn't it? It's every year A-levels come out and the right wing just never congratulate him. They just never say, well done, everybody. Hope you all get good jobs. It's like, which is all you need to say when you're a middle-aged man. You know, Jeremy Clarkson turned around and say, I think, Graham, you commented on it. You know, if you didn't do well in your A-levels, don't worry.
He always says he got a C and
I
a
own
U
a pub
and an N and a T.
And an inherited fortune. You know?
Yeah, an inherited fortune.
but
which was nice.
You know, it's like I genuinely, I mean, as far as I understand it, and again, like everybody becomes an expert on the latest news story, don't they? Like today, it's about wildfires and the expertise on arson and whatever. But fundamentally, I haven't been into a university for a long, long time. You know, I didn't go to university myself. So all I know is from what I read and see. But as I understand it, because of Brexit, universities are really struggling for funding at the moment. And they're becoming money-making or money-scraping machines in order to try and attract foreign students, which is unpopular on the right. And then when we get an excess of A-level passes because something must be going right with our education system, basically, which you could credit the Tories with if you want, because most of these kids have gone through.
A-levels are getting easier.
Most of these kids have gone through 10 years of their education under a Tory government. So fundamentally, we should be saying, well, you know, there's a way of even spinning this to say, well, that'll be less foreigners in the country because our universities will be full of
the 11 plus was hard.
British kids, won't it?
That's why all the elderly people in this country are so clever. I mean, they're so clever, and none of them ever fall for a scam. They just see it a mile away. They go, "Oh, look, there's a scammer." That's why none of them vote for Nigel Farage.
When you look at the principles of right-wing politics, it's largely about defunding public education so that only privately educated kids get an education, so that you end up with a voting mass who will just elect in right-wing prats like Farage all the time, promising them, you know, I don't know what, half-price fish and chips. Did you see on the campaign trail when he was asked how much fish and chips cost? Pretty obvious that guy hasn't brought fish and chips for. I stopped buying fish and chips about 4 years ago.
Who was asked this?
Went over £10. Farage. He stood outside a fish and chip shop with a menu on the wall, and the reporter said to him, "How much does fish and chips cost?" And he said £6.95.
Fuck.
And the reporter said, No, it's about 14 quid.
14 quid. I was going to say.
Well, that seems really expensive for just fish and chips, basically.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, it is because of you. You were supposed to be on the fisheries board of the European Union. You never turned up. Anyway, Andy Thompson, thank you so much for the £2 super chat. Hello there, Count Binface. Nice to see you. To see you, nice. Thank you very much to Andy for that. And also, Fat Spicer, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Clarkson's dad was an authorised plagiarist who made Paddington toys, Paddington Bear, without permission from Michael Bond, is it?
Paddington, I assume. But then he's a Peruvian immigrant, so that's fine. It's just fine. Exploiting Peruvian immigrants.
You can get permission from Paddington himself because he's a fictional character, like Dobby.
What?
Now this week we discovered that an essential electricity cable that was running from Great Britain to the Republic of Ireland was actually had to be moved because of a fictional character's grave. Now, yesterday,
it's cost millions, hasn't it, to put the electricity into this?
Yesterday, I was in Malaga Cathedral, which is a fantastic cathedral. It's incredible. It's a really, really beautiful cathedral in Parma. Sorry, Parma Cathedral. And in it are some historical relics of possibly fictional characters like Saint Sebastian, Saint Bartholomew, Jesus, depending on, how religious you are or not. And there's been a lot of power cables that have had to be diverted because of fictional graves. Put it that way. Graves of fictional people.
Are you telling me in this podcast that St. Bartholomew and Paddington are not real?
Yes. Sorry.
Jeez.
Hey, and also Saint Sebastian survived the arrows. I only found that out yesterday.
What, the red arrows?
No, the arrow. He was tied to a post and they shot arrows at him, and I thought that was how he died. You know, there was the Jesus bloke. He was on the cross, and then there was one who was an inverted cross, and then there was a guy who's and then someone was thrown to the lions. And I always thought until yesterday that Saint Sebastian carked it after being shot with arrows, but he didn't. He was nursed back to life by a woman called Irene. My mum's called Irene. Hi, Mum, if you're watching. But yeah, true story. Nursed back to life.
Goodness.
I mean,
Yeah,
I've learned that there was a Saint Sebastian, and the whole story that you've believed for your whole of your life, and the antithesis of that, all now in the last 10 seconds.
I've just got,
and I'm guaranteeing I'm going to forget it by tomorrow, because
I'm just imagining like a comedy sketch version of this story where it's like Sebastian wakes up from what's going to be his deathbed, and it's like, Sebastian, I've got good news and I've got bad news. The good news is you're going to live. The bad news is this is not looking good for you being beatified. We're going to see if we can swing it for you, but just be aware, living through that was probably not the best move if you wanted to be sanctified for the rest of history, mate.
It's a bit like in America where they give out purple crosses for getting injured. And my friends in the British Army always take the piss out of them for that. They're like, that's what you're supposed to not do. Why are you giving awards to people for doing the thing they're not supposed to do, which is to get injured? But yeah, it's an American thing. Here you go. Here's a consolation prize for not having it.
Again, it's sort of like I would say, yes, we show respect to people who've served for this country. Yes, we show gratitude. But I think there's a weird religiosity that Americans have got around their war fighting, which is really disturbing.
Because it gives you status in society. Young working class people sign up for it. It gives them healthcare, and they're cannon fodder. I mean, look at the way Hesketh is treating these guys on that aircraft carrier in the Straits of Hormuz. 250 days on a tin ship with shit food.
I was going to mention this. The USS Abraham Lincoln, and they ran out of milk months ago. 250 days on a floating prison, which is basically what it is. You're sleeping in cramped quarters. I know these things are massive, and they've got a McDonald's and Burger King and KFC on board, but I mean, it's not a cruise ship. And even if it was a cruise ship, it wouldn't be that pleasant. It wouldn't be on a cruise ship for that long.
5,000
without going into
people
port.
on 5,000 people on that boat for 250 days.
Fucking hell! No wonder people are going mad. People are trying to jump off.
People are committing suicide, aren't they, or trying to?
They're trying to. They're being held back by the other. They've had to put out people on the deck to make sure, like, no one, to keep an eye on it.
To be fair,
to make sure no one jumps.
I'm gonna channel my granddad and father who are both in the army and just say, yeah, well, Americans, if they went 2 days without a McDonald's, they'd think they were suffering during a war.
Well, I mean, still, this is all Trump's doing, and we're living through the reckoning now of Trump's generation of sociopaths who decided that this world was here for the taking. We weren't custodians of this beautiful marble of life in the middle of the barren wasteland of death in all directions from millions and millions of miles. We're just here to just shit all over it and graffiti the walls and smash everything and burn it down and aren't we the masters of all of all of creation? And it's that attitude, and I hope that it's going. I hope that the older generation are going to be the last sort of generation to have that kind of arrogance. It goes against what should be any religion, but particularly Christian teachings. Surely there's teachings in there that say that we're custodians of this place, and we should look after it.
Depends whether you read the old or the new book, doesn't it? Really,
I think you
in the old one, if somebody looks at you slightly badly, then you're allowed to smite them, I think.
You misunderstand. The world is not for looking after, and the people are not there to be served. They are there to serve us, the elite. Don't you understand? The world is there to be owned. It is our chessboard, and if the pieces don't like it, they can vote in a ballot that we've decided at a time and place of their choosing in Clacton. Yes,
I think Edward's revealing that his degree is probably in theology from Wolverhampton University. I think.
Well, but yeah. I mean,
I'll keep you guessing.
Maybe they missed a trick when they wrote Genesis, because they should have made it like, they ate an apple or a fruit. in the Garden of Eden. They should have been. They trashed it. They trashed the garden. God came down and went, what the fuck have you done? They're like, oh, we shat in the river and we burnt down the trees.
It wasn't an apple, though, was it? In Genesis,
No,
it was actually the fruit of knowledge,
Yeah.
basically, from the tree of knowledge.
It's always
Basically,
an apple.
but basically, Eve read a book, and God was really pissed off about that because she suddenly went, hang on a minute, this doesn't seem right, basically.
Yeah. But yeah, the Chris says the enlisted personnel sleep in bunks that are 3 high and are compared to coffins. Also, the quarters are directly below the flight deck, so very noisy.
I mean, just imagine living on a floating sort of like a floating airstrip.
Yeah.
And
also, Trump's having an interference with this. Sorry, go on. This is about the steam power.
Is, injecting them all with testosterone, isn't he? To top up their man levels.
So much happier.
I mean, that's going to make those 5,000 people on that ship a lot safer, isn't it?
You know what? I keep thinking back, like maybe this is just me having been obsessive over the Victorians when I was a teenager and reading a bit too much Charles Dickens.
Edward, I think you were a Victorian when you were a teenager.
That's very kind of you to say, but there's not enough evidence to support that conjecture. You know, there are some things that the Victorians did that that jump out at you that they're just happening again today, and they feel weird happening today. And yet they're not entirely novel. Like one of those classic ones would be measuring skulls and thinking that's scientific, and sort of looking at the way that we are now categorizing people once again, but according to race and ethnicity, as though that's the sole determining factor of everything else about a person. There's also this sort of there's this direction towards reinventing the work camp that you can see happening from parties like Reform. Like slowly but surely, you can see it's like you carry on doing that, you will eventually get workhouses. Like that's the direction that you're heading.
You want workhouses because that's how you get workhouses.
Yeah. And that story of having to post men on the stations to actually watch to stop people from killing themselves, that's just straight out of the Victorian era. Yeah. And then I sort of think about like what we see online with the graphic content that people are being exposed to all the time. It's kind of got a certain freak show blood sport coding from years gone by. It's just the same thing being reinvented digitally. Like in some ways we've become so much more sophisticated at being absolutely ghastly to each other in ways that we always have been.
Do you think to some extent the Victorians were on the coming in at the end of the Industrial Revolution to an extent, or the first Industrial Revolution, and that communication dramatically changed in that period? Like newspapers, pamphlets, books, etc., publishing all became incredibly cheap. Yeah, so I just wonder if it's the same thing. It's that classic. It's sort of we're kind of designed or evolved to communicate sensibly with about 35 or 40 people on a regular basis. And once you offer up mass communication to two-way mass communication to people, you end up in a, I don't think it's any, the penny black would be an example of their version of TikTok to an extent. I can send dick pics in the post to people, basically. Yeah. I wonder how much that happened in Victorian days.
I mean,
my dearest Esmeralda, I have enclosed a drawing of my penis, basically. I totally think that happened.
Dear Esmeralda.
But yeah, I mean,
you up?
When I mean, I think there were seven prime ministers in quick succession in the 1820s, 1830s, and that happened again 100 years later. And the time that they said, "Oh, this is because of what you were talking about with the advent of the mass printing and things like that, it's a communication device." And then in the 1920s, radio.
Yeah,
and then now
and we had the same thing.
Loads of prime ministers were going through the same.
We had 8 or 9 prime ministers between 1920 and 1937 or something, didn't we? As well, there's a repeating cycle that happens that we can't. And it's mainly because society and democracy is changing, and the political system isn't keeping up with it.
But I've got a question for you. So, talking of Victorian steampunk, who wants to bring back steam instead of electromagnetism?
Steam.
It's cleaner energy, isn't it? It's made out
depends on what you fire the steam with.
Carboniferous.
For launching planes off aircraft carriers.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Trump this is to get rid of electromagnets.
Beautiful
They've been
steam.
using electromagnets for years now.
Yeah, which I think he's
using steam.
Didn't he say in a speech that I asked an admiral what happens if the magnet gets wet? Because we all know that magnets stop working when they get wet.
They do stop working when they get wet. Yeah, that's true.
You fucking what? What is
what you want to do
electromagnets maybe, but
they're putting drugs and chemicals in the water that are turning the frogs gay, and they're putting water in the magnets that are making them not magnetic anymore, and Mexico will pay for it all.
Put him in one of those old Jack Cousteau bubble helmet, the big Bioshock things, right, out of iron, right, and drop him down to the bottom of the ocean. And then get a big fuck off magnet and say, "Don't worry, it won't work because it's wet." He's like, "I'm running out of oxygen."
Yeah, just hold this in front of your chest, basically.
Yeah. So basically, the Trump has ordered the Pentagon to redesign U.S. aircraft carriers, right, to use steam catapults to launch jets instead of the electromagnets the electromagnetic systems that they've been using for years.
We can connect a thread through all of this because the when we talk about dumbing down a society by removing public education, it's the same thing that Hesketh is doing and Project 2025 is doing in the military. They are removing smart admirals and generals. They're saying, why would you need a degree to fight? You just need large testicles. Yes. They're literally dumbing down the military on a massive scale as well now. So there are people like there are in Russia that will say, yeah, of course we'll build steam catapults, and they'll pocket half the money for themselves, just like they do in Russia. The American military will stop working, and eventually our glorious leaders in Iran will show us Lego movies every morning so that we can rejoice.
So
basically.
A bit of a shock this afternoon when Luigi Mangione pled guilty. And no one was expecting this. They were expecting there to be a plea deal, something. And he just pled guilty to federal charges, which the maximum sentence
I kind of think he's done the right thing, don't you?
Well, yes, because he did it. He fucking did it. But I'm guessing this is a way of getting around the death penalty. They're saying you can't do us twice for the same crime, no double jeopardy. That's in the American Constitution, or at least the amendments of the American Constitution. And that means that he can't be done on the state level. And if it's a federal crime, then a future president might pardon him. Maybe a future Democratic president who's like, nah, do you know what? That CEO of that evil company probably just deserved to die. So we'll let you out, because that's what Trump's done to all his mates who are running around on January the 6th, killing people.
We're verging into territory where we're endorsing that kind of behaviour.
I'm not endorsing it. I'm saying that it might happen in the future because you can't be pardoned for state crimes. It's only federal crimes.
I do think it's difficult because I have noticed a lot. I joined Twitter again just for the Clacton election, or reanimated my account.
I'm so sorry, Mike. Are you all right?
No, I'm really not, because actually reading that feed, and I genuinely do think that the people that are reading that feed and then posting things about it, when you read what they're saying, you go, "Oh God, it's truth, you're brainwashed. You seriously are brainwashed here."
Who's this about the Luigi?
Anything. I mean, if you just look at your For You feed, basically, it's just full of it. But I come back to the fact that I have been accused of being a woke lefty murderer of Anne Widdecombe a number of times by these people. But I do think there's a problem with the rhetoric in that, there is a part of us that likes the idea that Luigi killed a CEO of a major medical company. He's been made a bit of a hero of the left, so you can't. You probably have to accept the fact that all lefties enjoy murdering rich people. I don't know.
I think that we can sort of come around to it, and there's a phrase that I always hold on to when there's a discussion like this, which is, we don't fix people, we fix systems. People are complicated. People have a lot of different factors to them. People are not perfect. And if you're trying to solve the world's problems by fixing people, you will get nowhere in a hurry, because people take a long time to fix. Generally speaking, it takes 18 years to educate a baby into something that's actually semi-useful to the world. And, it's if you want to view it that way. And you're talking
27.
Yeah, I mean, personally, it's taken me probably about 30 years to be useful to the world. But it's different rates for different people. It takes decades to turn people around in that sense. Like, it's not a quick process. It is self-driven. You're far better off thinking about systems and about cultures, because those can change very quickly. Again, look at
shut
how
down
quickly.
Twitter.
Yeah,
just shut it down.
I couldn't agree more.
And I think that's basically it.
We don't need it.
We need to change the way that social media works, and we need to change the way that we're building our culture, because we are allowing passively right now these extremely dark and unpleasant influences to determine for us what is allowed to happen with our political culture.
Yeah. And I know we're ADHD veering onto every subject possible, basically. But
it's a Friday night social. This is what we do.
AI is a classic example. You know, I think I've said before that I was involved in trying to put some regulation on social media when it started to appear in the early 2000s, and I was batted away by big money constantly at government level. And all I was saying was, look, I know what this stuff can do. We've run bulletin boards for Channel 4. We know what people are going to be like if you give them a public two-way forum. It needs to be moderated, controlled, and monitored. And the problem is, genie's out the bottle far too late. Also in its passing phase, hopefully, because what I see in a younger generation is a lot less reliance on it to a great extent, in the same way that my generation has done. But AI is the other one. I have had, I mean, this is the lonely. It's why when you said I'm doing a Friday night social, I went, oh, I'll go, because I need to talk to some humans at some point in time. I think I might be going stir crazy here. So I've been in conversation with Google Gemini on the various speakers in my house, and I ask it for a news bulletin in the morning, and you just go, Gemini, what the fuck was that? What did you just tell me as a fact? And then it goes, oh, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. And you go, you can't get an election date wrong and the winner wrong. You can't do that, basically. And yet that information is just, leaking out in every search. And it's uncontrollable now, because Google have stuck AI into their search engine. So all of these misfacts are being repeated by these idiot pieces of software.
And bullshit is free and plentiful, and you've got to pay for the truth. It's behind the fucking paywall.
Yeah.
It is that place where we're dealing with perceptions that seem to carry the weight of truth in some people's minds. They're choosing their own reality. They're choosing a world or a reality or a version of events that best suits what they already felt like. And with AI, and generative AI in particular, it's never been easier to to cushion yourself away, sort of cut yourself off and surround yourself with cotton wool and protect yourself from the uncomfortable truths of real life. The fact that there are things going on that are not very comfortable right now. One of the classic ones I think that we could talk about, again, going right back to the very beginning of this conversation, how are we all? We're all very hot. Why are we all very hot? It's because the temperatures are ridiculously high. We've been breaking records, shattering records that have never been broken before in this country, in living memory, in human history. They haven't been broken, these records. We're doing that day by day by day. And yet you'll then get people, if you mention this on the internet, telling you, oh, it's just summer. It's like, no,
it's worse than that. There's a guy, this is my Twitter feed shouting at me every day, right? There's a guy called Adam Brooks. I think he works for GM, BBs, whatever they're called. Absolute ranty Nigel Farage lover boy. And he's basically shouting at everyone at the moment that this is arson. It's all arson. It's definitely not climate change. And yet, you kind of go, look, just try and be dispassionate about this. Even if it's arson, everything is so dry it's easy to set fire to, and people are dying. So can we just deal with the problems, basically? I don't need to have an argument with you about climate change at the moment. I get it. We're not going to be able to save any houses in Stourbridge if we all just use a bit less plastic from Asda. But fundamentally, we need to agree on the fact that it is fucking hot, fucking dry, and tinderboxes. My brother's just landed in
since last year.
My brother's just landed in France, and I looked at Google Maps. They do an overlay of where the fires are and where they're spreading. It's actually a really useful Google service, basically. And he's surrounded. I mean, literally, he's in Carcassonne, the other side of Toulouse, and there are fires northwest, east, and south of him.
Yeah.
And he escaped fires in Wales yesterday, where his asthma was causing him major problems. And I think just amongst the neighbours here in the WhatsApp group, people complaining about the heat, asking to borrow fans. I think this is how we die.
Two trains have derailed in the last 2 days. I mean, the chance of that just happening by chance.
Well, it's probably arson. It's probably arson. Somebody set a fire under one of the tracks. And that's but the thing is, people are very happy to believe whoever these arsonists are. I imagine they're woke lefty Muslim immigrants doing it, basically, because that's the story that they're telling us about criminality, isn't it? But they're very happy to accept that there's some bad actors out there that are setting fire to fields and houses, but they're not willing to accept that oil companies are bad actors. It's like, no, look, it's just these rich people over here that are exponentially richer than you. They might be doing some bad shit. What do you think?
Yeah, but if you're nice to them, the money might trickle down.
I think we should just start spreading rumours that all of the oil companies are run by immigrants, and that might get them doing something about it, mightn't it?
Well, yeah. Talking of multi-billionaire scumbags, Jeff Bezos has just bought a massive fucking chunk of Liverpool Football Club. This is a man who's never mentioned the word football in his fucking life. He doesn't like sports. He's never talked about sports. He's never got excited about sports. But he's put a load of money into Liverpool Football Club. Now,
will it be called Liverpool Soccer Club?
Yeah. Why might he do that? And Liverpool's got a socialist history. And now you've got one of the richest men in the world having a huge chunk of it. That's going to sit very uncomfortably with a lot of Liverpool fans that I know, at least. But why has he done this? Well, the reason I think is because it's not AI, is it? When the AI bubble bursts, Liverpool Football Club will still be making money.
This is the thing. I think
that's very true. Yeah. Have you seen also Elon Musk is supposedly joking? It's difficult to tell with him about buying England.
Yes. Ha 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 ha. He's so funny.
Is just so. Again, it's just this sense of this casual rich guy sense of I can just buy things in the world. The world is there for me to purchase. Everything is for sale, no exceptions. You're all pawns on our chessboard. And the concept that actually people can choose differently just doesn't compute with them, I think. And I also just want to say, I think there's a certain poetry that just as they take an interest in something like football is around the time that the planet is heating up and it's becoming difficult for us to actually hold the World Cup anymore. Like it's almost as though the minute they get interested in something, they start killing it.
Oh, they're having it in they're having it in Saudi Arabia, one of the sorry, I was going to say richest country, one of the hottest countries in the world.
Isn't it just cake and circuses? I mean, we like to think we're inventing these bigoted rich bastards, basically, but the Romans did a good job on that one.
It's all the bloody Romans' fault,
They won't introduce universal basic income. It will be universal basic bread that they'll hand out to us, but they'll let us watch football as long as we've got a premium Amazon account. And we'll all be happy. Thank you, Governor. Thanks very much. Love the game at the weekend with Liverpool Soccer against Dubai International Limited. They were great.
So just to go back to last night's, well, it was this morning's, wasn't it? The result at the count. Can we just point out that first of all, Nigel Farage wasn't there at the count, and then his right hand man, his lapdog or whatever you want to call it, Richard Tice, goes on the Nick Ferrari show, expecting his tummy to be tickled because Nick Ferrari's dead posh and went to a private school, and Richard Tice went to the private school, and they do the special Masons thing. The handshake or whatever, they touch the third knuckle and then they rub each other's cocks or something. I don't know what happens, but basically they know not to be too mean. They know not to be, and the questions that Nick Ferrari was asking in this interview this morning was so fucking softball. It was like, where was your guy last night? Why didn't he turn up at the count? And he said, because we were told that they were planning to humiliate him on stage. So well, that's not what Farage said last night. He said that there was. The police had told him not to go because there's going to be terrorists and 50 masked people outside ready to kill him. And it was like, and all Nick Ferrari was doing, and I can't believe I'm defending Nick Ferrari, but he was just like asking really basic questions, like tummy tickle questions, and the response from Tice, and you can see they're rattled. And I don't want to get too excited about this because we've been here before with Trump, and he's still I think there was a particular type of political cockroach, not a good cockroach like the cockroach party in India, but just a type of political cockroach that just won't fucking die politically. I don't mean actually, but Trump is one of them, and I think that Nigel Farage is as well. I think he's going to have another election in a few months down the line. He's going to win that one as well, and that's going to be the end of it.
I'm less sure of that. I mean, I think that what I would say about Farage right now, is he going to be kicked out by the voters of Clacton on Sea? Probably not, because it's one of the, if not the most right-wing seat in the country, it's one of them.
Majority old and stupid.
It's a very unusual community in a very unusual place in an unusual part of the country with unusual politics. Now, Reform UK held their stronghold. They held the safest seat in the country. Well done, guys. Well done. How brilliant. You achieved it. And the opposition was a guy with a bin on his head. And more than a quarter of the voters in that place chose a joke candidate over Nigel Farage, who is pitching himself as the country's next prime minister. Now, he may say that he increased his number of votes in that seat. Sure. Marginally. Well done, Nigel. They had no other choices. You were the only person who's a professional politician on that ballot paper. This is not an achievement. Now, what this really does, what this campaign really does, is it puts Nigel Farage in the position that he has got very comfortable and very cozy talking to people that already agree with him. But in politics, you always have to be reaching out to people that don't already agree with you. You have to be reaching out to people across the spectrum. You need to be growing your movement, because through death, through churn, through people just getting ticked off because you said the wrong thing on the radio one day, you're always losing people, which means you always need to be recruiting people if you want to simply tread water. Reform are not even treading water right now. They are losing ground. They are going backwards. And it is because they are so damn arrogant and they're so damn weird that is starting to happen.
Whiny.
Now, Nigel can hold
whiny, aren't they?
Absolutely. And Nigel can hold on to his seat in Clacton. Great. But can he win seats elsewhere in the country? No. Makerfield was one of the target seats, one of the top target seats for Reform UK in Britain. And the litmus test for Andy Burnham, and you will remember me saying this at the time, if he was going to lead Labour successfully against Reform, he had to win Makerfield, and he had to win it big. He did that. And that hasn't changed. The mathematics under the hood, the engine under the hood have not changed.
Because I'm a bit of a historian in the year 2026, so I went back just 2 months on Twitter and found Nigel Farage's speech after Makerfield, where he said coming second was a massive victory, and they got less votes, I think, didn't they, than Count Binface got.
Makerfield got,
was it more?
He got 15,000, but 15,000. I mean, fucking Binface getting 9,500 votes is just absolutely incredible. Considering he didn't run a campaign, he didn't knock on doors or nothing. That was all just
when
online.
There's a second, I'd be interested in you two's opinion that I don't think he should stand in the next election.
No. I think they should. Look, if the Tories want a candidate, the Lib Dems will want a candidate, and the Greens will want a candidate, and Labour will want a candidate. And then when you say to Labour, why the fuck are you doing that, you stupid bastards? They'll say, but it's constitution that we have to run a candidate in every single election. Well, how come you didn't put one in that one? How come you didn't put one in the David Davis election? How come you didn't put one in the Martin Bell election? When it suits Labour, they can say, oh, it's in the constitution. When it's not,
I'm going to be more hopeful than that. And I'm going to say a couple of points back to it. One of them is we've just watched, literally, with this by-election, all the four major parties, other than Reform, making a collective choice, talking to each other and coordinating and actually saying, okay, none of us can beat Farage. Let's all of us get out of this race. Now, that says to me they are intelligent enough people, thinking enough people to actually go through the logic here. The political world is starting to move in a way where people are coordinating to protect our democracy.
I'm not convinced they coordinated in that way, Ed, and I think we should be careful about saying that, because that's exactly the line that Reform like to use about the Uni Party. Because if you think about it, Lowe was the first one to say they weren't going to stand.
Yeah.
And then Kemi Badenoch,
But
and
I'm
then
going
it was
to
a
put-
domino effect. It was less of a coordination, more of a calculation as each one dropped out, basically.
But I think that is the political process. That is the political process. And Farage has arrayed himself against it. He's arrayed himself against democracy because he is not a Democrat. He's a fascist. Full on, full fat fascist. And he would like nothing more than to fully unravel our voting system and our political culture. He doesn't like dissent. He doesn't like disagreement. He doesn't expect that the little people should be allowed to have a say. So he will absolutely unravel all of that. And every time he has had to choose between maintaining our democracy and his raw self-interest, he has chosen himself every single time without fail. I will say, other political parties, if you want to say coordinating, if you want to say colluding, if you want to say reacting, if you want to say talking, however you want to phrase it, if you simply want to say that they have found that they've got a shared interest and have all ended up accidentally working together, fine. But I think that Nigel Farage has declared war on our political system, and our political system is perfectly within its rights to actually work collectively to protect itself and to protect our democracy.
But I do think we've got to be careful. I mean, what I saw from within Labour WhatsApp groups that I'm a part of was I think in general this is the problem. I think Farage and his advisors thought that running this by-election would get them out of the parliamentary investigation, which even us lay people also went, well, no, that's not going to happen, is it? If you go back in, you'll still have the same investigation. But what I saw amongst Labour activists was we can't go there. We can't distribute leaflets. We can't knock on doors. We can't help. All we can do is be quiet and support Binface, on social media, etc., if we need to. Because fundamentally, I think there was an understanding. It's what I always come back to, that Farage's problem is that they don't actually have a proper, intelligent grassroots in reform. They had to drag over their big activists from Manchester and lost what could have easily been a win in Manchester. They could have played quite a good game in Manchester to try and get themselves a reform mayor. And they moved all those people that had spent the last 2 years building a ground activity over to Clacton, where they've got no fucking idea. They have no idea about the local infrastructure, who's important, who do you get on your side, which doors do you knock on, etc. So fundamentally, I think that's their problem. And I think what happened, rather than a collusion, was just the Tories, Liberals, and Labour and Greens all know how to campaign at a local level. Once they withdraw doing that and then don't put anything in themselves, basically, to make it look like a uni-party activity, then Farage's machine is only literally all he managed to do was get another 1,000 people to vote for him than voted for him last time, and that's because they put such an intent, and there was an intense focus on that by-election, just like there was in Andy Burnham's case. It was an intense national focus.
I mean, I would say it goes beyond that. What Nigel Farage just did in Clacton went beyond what Labour did in Makerfield, way beyond. I was at a planning committee 2 days ago where there is one Reform UK councillor on my city council, and he is on planning committee because, out of a sense of fairness, we include minority parties and small independents in the committee. If they want to be on, they can be on. He wasn't there. Where do you think he was?
Clacton.
And why was he in Clacton? There was no danger of Nigel Farage losing his seat. And similar, the Manchester by-election, what happened to the Reform candidate in Manchester? They abandoned her. They pulled all the support out for her.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I mean. There isn't an organisation in Clacton that can get him re-elected. You have to go and import one every time, and that's, as you say, the safest seat, the seat Nigel chose, and the seat they've invested in trying to build a grassroots campaign for. But that gives me faith that they can't repeat this around the country in a general election. It doesn't matter how much money they throw at it, because we have rules about the money as well, and that's exactly what Farage is being hauled over the coals for anyway. That's why this election happened.
Frank is saying if Farage gets a criminal conviction, then he can't stand as an MP. That's not true, Frank. You've got to have served a custodial sentence of more than a year to actually be stopped from being an MP. I know it's a ridiculous rule. Honestly, if someone has been done for domestic violence, no way should they be an MP. They shouldn't be anywhere near being an MP. And I think
a lot of this.
If you can't be a school, if you can't work at a fucking kindergarten, if you can't work at a nursery, then you shouldn't be allowed to be
You
an
shouldn't
MP.
be allowed to stand. Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
There's
100% not.
There's a number of things like that, anachronous things in our system, though, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like you don't actually have to live in the UK to be an MP.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, just to go back to something, because I didn't have this before the show, but this came up a few hours ago on Huffington Post. Trump has said that the deployment of the USS Lincoln has not been nearly long enough. He said that the sailors are not trying to jump overboard. He says, well, no, that ship is moving. No, they're not. That ship is moving right now or very shortly, and it's being replaced with another similar ship. Okay, so they're in the Indian Ocean, right? Near Iran. The replacement ship is in fucking San Diego, which is in the Pacific. Well, not in the Pacific, it's on the Pacific.
Yeah.
To get the ship from San Diego to the Indian Ocean, you got to go down the coast of Mexico, through Central America, across the Panama Canal. Then you got to go across the Atlantic Ocean, then through the Suez Canal, and then you got to go through the Red Sea and into the Indian Ocean. That's going to take about 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks.
Permit me one observation there, Graham. Allow for global warming and sea level rise. San Diego soon could actually be in the ocean. So just throwing that out there.
Good point.
Yeah, I'm seeing that the effects of sea level rising firsthand on my island in Panama. The water has risen a foot since I've owned that island. A foot. And you know, for low-lying countries like the Maldives and Tuvalu, they're fucked. Kiribati, they're fucked. Because they're atoll islands. They're not rocky mountainous peaks.
Spits of sand on.
Yeah, they're basically the old top of an old dormant volcano. Essentially, they're only a few inches above the high tide, and it's not just that the water comes in now and again when they have a big king tide, as they call it. The water gets into the waterlands, and so they've got no. They used to be able to dig water out the ground. They can't do that anymore. So they're all having to use big plastic containers to get the water from the rain, and because of climate change, they're getting less rain as well. I mean, it's just and the thing.
But hang on. Sorry, if we use seawater to cool the AI servers, then surely that's the way that we can reduce. Your problem is that you haven't let Elon Musk build a server farm on your island.
Terrible idea to use salt water to cool down stuff. Just put salt.
Don't tell him that. That's a great
Don't tell him
idea.
that. Basically,
great idea, genius. We love it.
But one of the things
there is a question that's now intriguing me in the post from Andy F4292. Can a CVN actually fit through the Panama Canal? Can a carrier?
Oh, probably not. Probably not.
It might be able to, but
they're fucking massive.
I have a feeling they have an east and west coast and a Pacific Navy, don't they, America? And they don't cross over the seas very often.
Can US aircraft? Let's see what Google says. Carrier pass through Panama.
It'll probably come back and say the Soviet Union carriers are all based in the Black Sea and China invented them.
There you go. Can't go through. Yeah, that's a good point. It's got to go through locks.
Yeah.
No chance. The widest locks on the canal are 110 feet. But the widest supercarriers 252 feet. So they're more than twice too big to go
So
through.
once again, just wait, and global warming will enlarge all of the waterways enough that the US can send their aircraft carriers anywhere. Job done.
I don't think it works like that. Well, they're running out of water in the Panama Canal, aren't they? Because the lake at the top, Lake Gatan, it's an artificial lake, and it requires water. And then that area is officially rainforest, or at least it used to be. And it didn't matter that the rain, every time they opened the locks, would go into the rainwater. Gigaliters of the stuff would go into the sea. Now it really matters, and they don't have the pumps to pump it back up the hill.
This is exactly why we need to melt the ice caps, boys. I mean, come on. Get with the program.
That's it. No more London. No more Paris. No more New York.
London. I mean, come on. That's under Sharia law, so drowning that won't be a problem, will it?
Do you know what? I can't stand the Sharia law in London, so I'm going to move to Dubai.
Yeah,
and I can get away from all this halal food.
there's all of these conversations that I had. I remember I put a post up just commenting about the fact, sort of indirectly just touched on the fact that Rupert Lowe's son has married someone from Libya, I think it was, and they had a halal wedding. And it's like, Rupert Lowe is just like one of those classic cases of someone who's getting really upset about this thing, about cultural integration, yet it just doesn't mesh with his actual life. And
Just
you wonder, does he believe this stuff? And
just
does he
out of
have
interest, does she come from a wealthy family?
presumably.
Oh well, then it's not a problem.
But it's the amount of it's the amount of anger.
I'm not racist. Some of my best friends are rich.
Yeah. Apparently, Hawaii is a stop on the way to the Middle East from the western ports in America. So yeah, fucking I'll have to go across the entire Pacific. Which, if you bother to get a globe out, like the Pacific is literally half of the. Oh god, I can't turn it around because I've got little people on there. But it is literally half the planet. It's just blue.
If you approach the Earth from the Pacific side, you could be forgiven for thinking this is an ocean, a full ocean planet.
Yeah.
Water world.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. So anyway, they're going to relieve the people on board. Do you know? And another thing about the air conditioning, they're in the hottest ocean in the world, or the hottest part of the ocean in the world. It must be 40 degrees heat, and they're in this metal ship, which obviously absorbs the heat during the day. And it's not like everywhere on the ship has got air conditioning. I know some, the below decks does and stuff, but a lot of the stuff they'd be doing day to day, you'd be doing it in sweltering heat. I just, and Trump's just like, oh, not long enough. He's like a villain from a shit film, like a shit Disney film or something. You're like, no one's that villainous.
Cartoonish evil.
Cartoonishly evil. Yeah, he genuinely is.
Yeah, well, it's the same kind of thing. I think we've
that's their appeal. This is the thing. Culturally, these are the villains we've been brought up on. This is what big business people are like. Like they are living up to their cartoons, aren't they?
Yeah.
It does make me worry that if Darth Vader ever gets to stand on a ticket in a British general election, there's a very serious chance that you might actually have a murderous Force user in the House of Commons. Like it's that sort of There are people who do identify with the villain.
He managed to persuade his wife that he did a good thing by killing all the Jedi children. All you've got to do is say that they were in a boat, basically, with their laser fighting age young Jedi.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah,
I've been reading Twitter too much, haven't I?
You have fighting age men.
Yeah, I could just trip out these lines now. We should redub Star Wars with like Nigel Farage and Donald Trump's speeches. That's a good idea.
But yeah, I mean, so I was just going to mention again about this by-election. I'm sorry to be. I like this about Trump in his second term. I really don't think this is going to be the end of Farage. I can't see it. Sorry, Ed. I can't see the parties.
This by-election will not be the end of him. But I think that. So I think there's a time.
No, I mean the next
beginning
one,
of the end.
The next one. I don't think it is.
I think that's looking too short term. The by-election was never going to be the end of Farage. I mean, we might have dreamt that he would actually lose. That would have been wonderful.
We just lost Mike. What happened? Mike, come back. I didn't mean it.
I know I'm boring, but I didn't realize I was that boring. It's like, what was I saying?
He's back. He's back. There he is.
I was just.
He had to pop off for a moment.
We panicked without you, Mike. We can't cope.
I can't sit at the moment. I can't sit down for more than 20 minutes at a time.
My bless you. I thought for a moment that like he might have gone off, and then me and Ed, because we're a bit more north than you, we might get like an alert on our phone saying that something was coming our way. And then Ed would go off, and then I'll be on my own, and I'll be like, "So I don't know what's happening yet." And then I'll go off, and then that'll be it. the end of the earth.
Jeez, that's dark.
It is the thing about the network, the data network. I would guess is they send out an emergency like that. I took a screenshot, shared it with everyone, and said, "Did everyone else get this?" People in my family group started going, "There's just been a terrible alarm." The traffic intensity on the interweb must have been incredible for those 20 seconds because it literally went off for everybody at exactly the same time.
Yeah.
That's the trick.
Well, and my elder stepdaughter was just like, I went up and said, "Did you get the message from the government?" And she said, "Yeah." was like, it really freaked me out. You know, I was like, oh, are you all right? Just don't light any fires. She's like, it really freaked me out. I'm like, yeah, there'll be a lot of people who are really shocked by that. And there'll be people who are probably a lot more upset than, say, I was, whatever. But like,
well, no, I reached out to my mum.
If you're suffering from anxiety,
she's 86. You know, when you're 86,
don't have a barbecue.
You get something like that out of the blue.
Yeah, mind you,
it would be like not telling anyone there was an eclipse. You know, it just like being the only person that knew there was an eclipse coming, and then just standing there waiting for the reaction from panicked hordes.
Literally happened a couple of times in history. I'm trying to remember which battle it was, but there was a battle which was fought and won on the basis that one side knew there was going to be an eclipse and the other one didn't. That does happen.
Just to go back to it, I introduced somebody to the fact that the eclipse was happening, it was important because they're in Spain, and I'm kind of going, oh God, there are people traveling all over the world to go and see this. Just look out the window. But the beauty, the absolute beauty. I went to a little village that I've fallen in love with nearby called Bossum, which is got a quayside, and it's in the Battle of it's in the Bayer Tapestry, the church in this village. It's a beautiful little setting. And there were hundreds of people out there to watch this thing. And the thing that fascinated me the most was just that, isn't it amazing that we knew that we're living in an age, you know, in the what? I don't know, it's about 2,000 years, unless the Chinese were predicting them before then. But essentially, we're living in an age of like the last 200-300 years where we know what it is and why it happens, and exactly when it's going to happen, and we can predict.
It happens all the time. It happens all the time.
And we have a global.
You know,
well, they do.
Just because it hasn't happened there for 27 years, it's not going to happen again for another 50.
Can you just grab that globe again and point to the big fucking blue thing over there, basically, and tell me? What? Yeah, it happens all the time. But all the time. There,
no, it doesn't. It doesn't happen all the time because it's got to be a new moon. It's got to be a particular part of the orbit of the sun. Yeah. It's got to be a particular distance from the sun. New moon. It doesn't work properly.
The reason month is called month is because it's named after the new moon. So yeah, we get those pretty regularly, don't we?
That's not an eclipse,
it's not happening. It's not happening in Europe. It doesn't happen in Europe all the time. But there was somebody sitting behind me, two lads drinking Stella. Who one of them said, I can't be bothered to wait for this. I'll come and watch it next year.
Wow. Well, did you see? I put a picture of me and a cat in the car waiting for the eclipse. We had the aircon on because it's dead hot in Mallorca. We were on the cliff top and in the car. And what does Phil Morehouse, who was diagnosed not that long ago with autism, you'll never believe it. And he said, you've got an entertainment system in that car. You could just watch an eclipse on the screen. It'll be the same. And I'm just like, that's like saying it's going to be the same. You know, if you go to a gig, if you just watch it on TV, or if you're having sex, if you just watch some other people having sex, it's just exactly the same, really, isn't it?
Genuinely not the only person that I've heard say that. I've heard quite a few people say, I'll watch it on the telly.
I'll watch it on the telly.
And then you go, well, look, I'm a graphic artist. I could make you one if you want. Basically, it'd be exactly the same as the real eclipse. Of course it would. It's like,
I got a commission for Mike Dix. I would like you to put on an eclipse for me. My budget is £10,000. Can we have an eclipse?
Not a problem.
Yeah,
of course. The only thing is, I suggest to save your eyes, you watch it on your phone. I'll send you a link to watch it on your phone, but send the 10 grand. Not a problem.
This is definitely a clear, full replication of the full experience of being in the midst of an eclipse and watching the entire world around you dark at an absolutely preternaturally strange time of the day. As the drawing.
Listen, for 10 grand, I reckon I can fake it. You just sit in a dark room. I'll get two dogs to bark outside your window, basically.
What we need is a cartoon of Mike sort of squatting with his dick hanging down and the sun behind it, and it just says, and it just says Eclipse, and it's the light. Sorry, Mike. Wasn't making fun of your name. Squatting.
No, it's the squatting bit.
Honestly.
Maybe just standing with your legs apart. I don't know.
I'm going to blame that one on the heat wave.
Anyway, but yes, where were we? So listen, we're going to wrap up in just over 10 minutes. So
Okay.
if you do want to see, if you're not already seeing Mike's wonderful artwork for the what he's done to Binface for the Binfeffy, if you drop us a couple of super chats in, or 3 super chats in the next 10 minutes, you'll be able to see Mike's work, Mike's handiwork, which I really appreciate. Thanks for that, Mike. I didn't ask Mike to do it. He just did it. He just does this shit. It's brilliant. Thank you.
You're an inspiration. Great,
Oh.
that's all I can say.
Oh no.
Also, I don't know how to turn your channel off on the television. I've got that old now, so
Oh
it's like,
God, no.
I get all of my news from Hughes of the World and Twitter.
I was so smug. I know you were watching this morning, Mike, so you already heard the story. But Ed, so smug in Malaga. We hired a car. It was an electric car, and the woman in the hire car place was like, "Are you sure you want an electric car? It's a lot of hard work, you know. Oh, we get a lot of complaints about the electric cars." So we're like, "It's okay. We've got one at home. We know what we're doing." And we took it away. It was great. We got all this free electricity. On one of them, it was like a post at the side of the road. And you plug it in and you press onto the app that they have there. And we got free electricity all night. Unfortunately, we didn't know that they closed the road at 6 o'clock in the morning and put a market up. And they would have towed our car away, but because it was attached to the electrical cable, they couldn't tow it. So when we came back to the car, there was an entire market. The whole street was a market surrounding our car. It had fruit and veg and handbags and stuff all on top of it and stuff. We were like, oh.
Los ingleses
can we get a car? That's what you get for being small. But have you two got any stories that we haven't covered tonight? I know we've gone through quite a lot of stuff because it's been another mad. This is supposed to be the silly season, guys. This is supposed to be the time when nothing newsworthy happens, and it's just been like trail derailment. We've got these wildfires happening, people's houses burning down. We got the.
Are you not entertained?
No, I don't want to be entertained. I just want to go to sleep.
Well, too bad. You're being entertained anyway. Look, I did want to answer something which you were starting to ask earlier, and I think we got cut off, which was really around Clacton, around Nigel. Is this the end? Can this be the end? What's the ending point? Look, let's go through the end game for Nigel Farage. Let's dream big. Let's think about that and just understand how that would happen. Because Nigel Farage is in politics for the enrichment and the betterment of one person, and that is Nigel Farage. And what he would like to be is very, very rich. He might also be interested in being Prime Minister, but that is very much a stepping stone from being kind of rich to actually being very, very rich. It's a stepping stone. It's a means to an end. Nigel Farage only gains the wealth and the power that he wants if Reform UK wins a majority or as near to a majority as they can work out a deal with some other party. The polling that we're looking at now, the MRP polling that we're looking already shows that that's not looking realistic. Now, it's not showing great news for anybody. But Nigel Farage, even if his party was only on 150 to 200 seats, that would be nightmarish for the rest of us and for the whole of British politics. But that's not enough to govern on. And that's not enough to be sure that he becomes Prime Minister. Yeah. If Nigel Farage is not sure he becomes next Prime Minister at the next election, watch him stand down. He won't be interested.
I think they're scared. Do you know what I mean? I know I shared that meme from Starship Troopers of Doogie Howser going, it's afraid. But that's how I feel about the refuckers at the moment, the ones at the top, because they've been paid a fuckload of money by some fucking sketchy motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And if they don't get their money's worth, I think there's going to be hell to pay. But Darian, to start, you absolute star, mate. Thank you so much for the £20 super chat there. Bloody Sharia law is getting out of hand in London. Sadiq Khan came round and converted me to Islam 3 times this morning.
It's ridiculous.
And then converted him to Judaism for a laugh, and then back to Islam, and then 7-day Advent.
And the problem is people don't talk about it enough.
Yes. Yeah. I just cannot the people who go on about London being this hellhole, they're never the people who live in London. The people who moan about immigrants are not people who live in a place where there's lots of immigrants. The people who moan about trans people are not people who hang out with trans people, who have ever seen a trans person except in porn that they watch.
And it's one of the things that we kind of touched on, but we didn't really say a lot about. When you look at the out groups, they're really focusing in on at the moment, whether that's trans people or asylum seekers or lefties. What do all of those things have in common? Trans people, asylum seekers, lefties, nonces, these things that they obsess over.
Why? I don't know.
It's that you can't actually identify them by looking at them. There are lots of people who are trans who pass for whatever gender that they've identified as. There's the case of a couple of trans men in America, I think, who got chucked out of a bathroom, like had the police called on them because they looked like men, because they present as men.
Because they're trans men.
But they're being made to go into
men.
the women's toilet. That sort of thing. And then asylum seekers. You get people being accused of being asylum seekers. Going back to that case I talked to you about earlier, the BBC article that I read, because someone insisted there are dangerous asylum seekers living near them. The article talked about these men who were thought to be Eastern European. Now, Eastern Europeans do not tend to be the men in small boats. That's not a thing. That's not how that works. But it's basically these qualities that they are choosing to attack are the ones that you can't actually identify by looking at somebody.
The hidden enemy, the enemy within, etc.
It's easier to make people afraid of something or to accuse them of something if it's difficult to disprove.
Yeah. Pete Dencat says, how about Greg's renaming their sausage, bean and cheese melt to a sausage, bean and cheese thing? Did anyone see this?
What?
Yeah.
What?
So this was Andy Burnham was asked what his favorite Greg's. Well, if he likes Greg, he said, yeah, I do. What do you like the best? And he said, I like the sausage, bean and cheese thing, because he couldn't remember what it's called, right? I do this all the time because in Liverpool we had Sayers and they called it a steak slice, but in Greg's it's a steak bake, but it's the same thing. But yes, and Greg's at the speed of lightning, at the speed of PR, they changed the name of the product to a sausage, bean and cheese thing. as enjoyed by the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom or something like that. They put it on the which is, I mean, as a way of
and also Burnham retweeted it, so it sounds delicious, basically.
Yeah, and that is how you win the social media fucking battle. That's how you win the war.
I hope so. I really do hope so, because I think of all the politicians in the Labour Party that could have done this, I think Burnham has got a handle on that and seems to have a good team working on that. And I think he has a natural ability to be able to do those things. He can talk to camera while walking. He can do, all the things that Starmer just could not do. But the bit that bothers me, the bit that always bothers me, is that people still look at Farage and think he's one of them. And they look at Burnham and they go, well, he went to Oxford. And you go, for fuck's sake, wouldn't you want your kids to go to Oxford?
He didn't. He went to Cambridge.
Oh, whatever.
First Prime Minister to go to university who didn't go to Oxford in 100 years, I think, something like that.
One of those Mickey Mouse universities that Ed went to. I don't know.
Yeah, Oxford is a damp. Oxford, Cambridge and Hull.
I mean, look, on the strength of all the Tory cabinet ministers, you can send anybody you like to Oxford and still get a bunch of idiots back out. I think it depends on if someone is actually interested in learning and if they apply themselves not just to drinking and destroying half the eating establishments of Oxford, as the Bullingdon Club legendarily did, but actually studying
and setting fire to banknotes in front of people who are homeless. Elle wants to know if there will be hell to pay. Talking of toupees, talking about rugs, syrups, wigs, wiggy wigs. Looks like Trump's got himself a new wig, himself a new hairpiece. He's slowly morphing into his own mum, a bit like Norman Bates, which is kind of on character for him, isn't it? Because he is a fucking psychopath.
Yeah, these guys you just need their vanity, don't you? I agree with you, Ed, that Farage is only in the politics to make himself rich, but it's like Trump. He's only in politics to make himself feel rich compared to the people that are actually backing him.
Yeah.
They're both puppets, and all Trump cares about is trying to look like he's not dead. And all his backers care about is making sure that he doesn't die before they get all the laws in place that they want.
It goes back to the point that I think Graham was touching on, which was these guys are really frit. They're scared, and they're worried about what's happening with the amount of pressure that Reform are under, with all the questions that are being asked of them. And for my money, I would say they know the gravy train is about to pull into the final station. If Reform isn't polling top, and if it's not even outperforming the Conservative Party, all of that money, all of that dodgy financing that they've been picking up will transfer right back to the party that it used to back, which is the Tory party. So if Farage can't turn this around quickly, if he can't establish that Reform are doing better than the Tories, then this ride could soon be over, and all the people who jumped aboard the sinking ship, look, Suella Braverman, who else am I thinking of now? Robert Jenrick,
Danny Kruger, who are all set to lose their seats in the next election.
Yes,
that's going to be fun, isn't it?
They made a gamble, thinking that the rise of the Reform Party and the fall of the Tory Party was just going to continue on existing trend lines. And it's always a very dangerous thing in life to build your future expectations on the assumption that current trends will continue.
Yeah. Darian Dustart, thank you so much for the £2 super chat for Dizzy's confetti habit. So we only need one more. I know we've got over time here, but we only need one more super chat and we will unleash. Oh, there we go. Darian Dustart, thank you very much for the £2 super chat for Dizzy's confetti addiction. And so here we go. This is courtesy of Mike Dix. This is bin what are we calling this? Graham bin Feffy bin face
Graham bin Laden, I thought.
Graham bin Laden.
Oh, sorry, wrong.
Definitely not.
Wrong.
How about
wrong...
instead of Count bin face, it's cunt bin face. Here you go. Have some cunt bin face. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Boom! Yes, lovely. There it is. Bastard child of me and Count Binface there. Thanks very much.
That was a hell of a night in Makerfield.
I like a bit of tin.
Oh, dear.
Can't say no to a nice bit of tin. Elle in the chat is saying, well, an 8-month pregnant cis woman has revealed hate from anti-trans. Why? Because they believe her voice is too deep. So to them, she's trans despite the fact she's 8 months pregnant. I think you're talking about Anne Hathaway, the actress who is being transvestigated despite being massively fucking pregnant, because they're saying that a baby bump doesn't look real. These are obviously people with a lot of experience of, baby bumps and the things that you have to do in order for a baby bump to occur. I would assume. I don't know. But yeah. And Nicholas Holtz had to be added to our list of people we don't like anymore because he's signed up to season 2 of Harry Potter TV series to play Gilderoy Lockhart.
I just want to comment. Protect our women and girls up until the point that one of them falls pregnant, and then we have to investigate whether she's actually a woman.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Protect our women and girls. So if someone decides that you're not good looking enough to go for a piss, you have to go into the men's toilets, because that's how you protect women. That's the way you do it. Unfucking-lievable. And then talking about hospital wards. So first of all, the prison thing this week, where it emerged that they might send men into women's prisons. So this whole thing about women who are trans women being put in women's prisons, and how disgraceful this was. And I'm just going to put men, cisgender men, in prison. But the other thing is hospital wards. Saying there's single-sex hospital. What? Single-sex. There's a hospital in the UK where all the nurses, the doctors, the porters, the cleaners are all female? Are all women? What? Is this somewhere where the visitors to that ward are all women? What? Does that exist? Maybe in Saudi Arabia.
They're talking about not being at a ward with women in the ward if you're a man, or vice versa, basically. Patients.
Yeah. Generally speaking, if you're in hospital, you're not in the best of ways, are you?
I think generally speaking...
As somebody with some recent experience of this, I would argue that it's anyone on my ward that was capable of flirting or committing an act of sexual aggression on anybody would have been a miracle cure.
Yeah. Exactly.
I genuinely do think that it is more comfortable to be in a situation like I was, for example, with a group of middle-aged men, all of whom were losing their dignity every 20 minutes. I don't think women would want to be in the same room as men and men in the same room as women when that's happening. Basically, it's not, the level of privacy that you lose in a hospital anyway is pretty dramatic. So, anything that you can offer people to make them feel a bit more comfortable.
Were you in a male-only ward, or was it just because of the way it just turned out?
Yeah.
It was actually a male-only
ward.
No,
as a rule, post-surgery wards are not mixed. As a rule, and I think I genuinely listen. I do only an experience of one, basically, but I don't think it's I wasn't that bothered, but there were some men who were embarrassed to be in the room with other humans, let alone if there'd been any women in the room that they couldn't have coped with.
But under the new guidance, then trans women will be in that room.
I don't think that would be a major issue for most people. I think most people are dealing with their own issue when they're
exactly. So why would it be
anyone that's going, I'm not going to go into hospital because I don't want to be in a mixed ward? You go, okay, well then just stay at home.
Yeah,
we'll come and pick the body up in 2 weeks. Basically.
But if there's no problem with it being a trans woman on the ward, what about it being a cisgender woman?
No, I think it is a delicate balance to play, and I don't think we can bring it down to this. I think if there are some people that object so strongly to it, I mean, the hospitals have ways of dealing with these things. They're very used to all of this. So you could end up being in a room by yourself so you don't irritate the fuck out of all the other patients if you're an arrogant tosser like that, basically, and that happens. There was one guy that ended up in a private room because he was annoying everybody, and the rest of us sat there and went, maybe if we started being a bit racist, we'd get our own room.
Well, not Magenta is saying, as a trans woman, I would not want to be put on a ward with all men. Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, and I don't think the men would want that either. I don't think so.
No.
I mean, there's if it's
I sometimes think that argument is driven by this vision that it's all like Carry On Matron in a hospital. It's like Kenneth Williams running around the wards looking up nurses' skirts and whatever. That it's genuinely a place where people are just trying to turn themselves back into human beings. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Ed, were you about to come in on that?
No, I to be honest, I think I'm probably just going to sit comfortably in the corner saying absolutely nothing about any of this. It's not problematic at all.
Yeah.
No.
What a time to be alive. What did you do in the last few years of planet Earth when it was all getting dead hot? Or we just argued about who could sit on the fucking bog?
Yeah, exactly. Clearly the biggest problem in this country is a handful of people crossing the English Channel without permission, some of whom will be sent back, some of whom will presumably integrate with society. And the other big problem is that some people don't identify as the same gender that we assigned them at birth. Those are the two chief challenges, and not the fact that we are pumping carbon dioxide into the atmosphere at a prodigious rate and is leading to sea level rise and the collapse of ecosystems. That doesn't matter, apparently.
I don't want to diminish your very serious point, Edward, and that was a very good point. But I genuinely looked at that picture of the huge dinghy and thought that was AI.
Yeah.
Right. And then I processed it and asked 2 different AI engines if they could analyze it and come back, and they said they couldn't because of the nature of the photo, which suggested that it was probably real.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, oh God, there is a story behind this, isn't it? Because I'm just looking at that dinghy and thinking the laws of physics are being broken here somehow. So somebody is investing a huge amount of money in these dinghies somewhere along this line. And if you wanted the perfect photograph, right? So if you wanted like a dinghy ferry, if you're a people trafficker, then yeah, I get it. You might start investing in a boat like that. But also, if you wanted the perfect photo to scare everybody, it would be a huge, great dinghy full of fighting age young men that looks like it was generated by AI. And also, you'd have a boat conveniently placed to take the perfect side-on picture of that as well. So I see conspiracy theories everywhere, but I just think there must be a huge business network across Europe, probably starting in Russia somewhere, where they're manufacturing these boats for both reasons.
I was thinking about that, the logistics of making that boat. That's got to be a Russian project. Like, can you imagine like a
grade,
a European manufacturer going, oh, we just had this order in for a dinghy, right, for 300 people.
Yeah.
A 300-person dinghy. Okay, and what's this?
George, shut down the inflatable Pelican line. We're going to start making.
We're going to make this massive. Yeah.
There's something odd.
I was asked today about conspiracy theories and if I believe any of them, and generally speaking, it's like no. But like the fact that Russia do interfere, and we have evidence that they've been interfering for the last 26 fucking years in everything, in our democracies, in our
that there is a huge
structures.
criminal network.
Yeah,
across Europe.
It's very,
Germany
very
is
profitable.
Yeah. We need to close down those routes for money getting into politics, and I think we've got to be a lot more direct about those sort of forms of criminality that are underpinning a lot of the problems that we have in society right now, whether that is Russia, the criminal money laundering, the drug running, all of the stuff that is tied together that we're discovering about through the George Cottrell story, or whether that is the smuggling in the English Channel, where essentially you've got these people smugglers who make absolute bank from ripping off refugees as they're fleeing dreadful circumstances, and they are able to turn this into a sort of an industry that they are making vast amounts of money from, exploiting other people. Can we acknowledge that is bad on its face?
There is a part of me that thinks that we should nationalize it. If they're making all that money out of it, basically, why don't we just provide decent ferries to get people across it?
We used to have
and then offer them jobs.
We used to have a system where people could apply for asylum in the UK from France, and if they were agreed, then they would be.
They got on a ferry.
To come No, that was the
way
system
we should.
had.
But I think maybe it's a sellable policy if you just said, actually, we've decided we're going to take over the people smuggling and make all the money for ourselves, and we'll give you a tax cut as a result of that. There is some, just out of that, I think I missed this a few months ago, but didn't the Home Secretary introduce I think it was an idea of mine, right? And it was controversial at the time, but I don't know why we don't treat asylum seekers' tax position like we do student loans. So essentially you say to them, well, you've got to earn a bit more money than most people. You'll be paying tax earlier, basically, and you've got to pay back this money over time. And I think it's just such a sellable policy, and I'm sure she slipped that one just before the summer. She slipped that one in.
There was something along those lines,
because it honestly makes sense to me that if we treat our own kids that way with their education, then I don't see why we shouldn't treat visa applications in the same way. But you apply it to everybody. So essentially, if a billionaire wants to come and live over here, he pays a higher percentage of tax for 5 years as well.
But
it should be a percent.
This is there is a misconception that most refugees are the poorest of the poor. They're usually not. They're usually middle-class people, because they're the ones who can afford to get out.
On average, it's 10 grand, basically. And that's the reason that it's young men being sent over, because you want somebody that's going to come over and work his balls off, basically.
But you've got a lot of young professionals, especially like Syria, for instance. Lots of young professionals who had to leave because, the neighborhood was being blown up. It was either stay and die or get out. And they've got a bit of wodge. And this is why it's so frustrating that it's taken Labour so long to say, look, we need to open up these safe routes. And charge for them. I know that sounds really fucking mercenary, but...
No. The thing is, I've looked, for various reasons, I've looked into immigration, both into this country for a non-European and also as an English non-European, effectively trying to emigrate to Spain. It costs money at every single stage, right? It's not a cheap process to do it legally. And a lot of that money, if it is illegal immigration that's coming in, none of that money is touching the exchequer. And I just think, well, look, we tax cigarettes still. We tax vapes now. We tax pubs. We tax all these things that are very bad for you. We tax our young people through university for the rest of their lives in a lot of cases. And the thing I find interesting about that model is just to say, well, you do it as a percentage. That's the important thing. But you don't make that the selling point, because what you'd be saying is all the Russian oligarchs and the Arabs that want to come and live in London and buy spare flats, etc. We tax you at 65% for 3 years as well.
Reverend Kathy points out that people used to be able to apply for asylum at an embassy or High Commission, and they can't do it. The Tories closed that down. They closed down the safe routes. The only way you can apply for asylum in this country at this moment, tonight, you need to apply for asylum because you're going to die if you don't. In this country, and you have to step foot on British soil. And that's it.
And
That's it.
also,
Unless you're
we have to-
Ukrainian. And that's why there's no Ukrainians coming across on boats, because they can apply from anywhere.
We have to constantly stress that.
Oh,
I think
hold
my
on,
local hospital has got a 20% shortage in staff across the board, basically. Cannot recruit nurses and doctors.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Anyway, guys, I've been up for far too many hours. started at 2:30 this morning. Still going.
Wow, man.
Started in another country. Starting on an island in the Mediterranean. Still here.
Yeah, but with you, that's just passe. We're just going, just one. Just one country.
I've got to finish this. I've got to do the dishes. I've got to set things up for breakfast in the morning. Might get to bed before midnight. If I'm very lucky. If I'm very, very lucky. I still haven't done Wordle today. I hate it when I get to midnight and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't do Wordle. Quick to the VPN.
ADHD brain.
Good luck.
Anyway, so Ed and Mike, thanks so much for coming on the show tonight. Thanks everyone for watching and everyone who's dropped a super chat in and a comment. That's really kind of you. That's awesome. Listen, if you like this, give us a like. If you don't like it, give us a like. Go on, just lie. And then hit the subscribe button if you're watching this on catch up, and hit the bell notification icon if you are subscribed. Now, I'm probably going to have a bit of a lie-in tomorrow because I think I'm going to need it. So there might not be a morning brew at 9 o'clock. So if you hit the bell notification icon, it will tell you when I'm going to do a morning brew. So don't get up too early to listen or watch the show in the morning. Just have a sleep in. Have a sleep in if you can. If you need it, whatever. I got to tell you something freaky though, right? I don't know how I do this, but I can wake up without an alarm at the time that I need to wake up at. Last night, I had no idea what time I went to sleep. I had no idea. I knew it was after 11, right? And I had to be up at 3:30. And I had 2 alarms set on my phone, and Catherine's phone was set as well, so I'd hear that. And 20 minutes before I was meant to wake up, I just woke up.
Yeah, I do that.
And I was just like, how? What? It's not like I could think, oh, well, I've got to sleep for exactly 3 hours because I didn't know what time it was.
I think there's an ADHD component to it that you don't actually get deep REM sleep very often, basically. So you're actually quite aware of your surroundings while you're sleeping.
But how do you know what time it is in the middle of the night? It's not like there's any visual clues. You got your eyes closed. How do you know? How do you? I think it's a really interesting thing to study.
It is.
Get some answers. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching, and I hope you have a great weekend. We might do another social on Sunday. I don't know. See how Mike's going. I'm not doing that. Yeah, I'll be recovered by then, I'm sure. Yeah. But Mike's like,
you'll be in a whole new.
Listen. I'm back in the world where this is my entire social life. I'll turn up whenever.
Hey, brilliant. Okay, well, Sunday night social. But in the meantime, tomorrow morning brew at some time between 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock. That's all I'm saying. So hit the bell notification icon, and you get a little buzz in your pocket when we're going to go live. And so thanks very much for watching. And until next time, hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye. Bye.